All right, here we go. Cardinals, 2 picks in the top 10. We figure, why not take the ribbon off? It's a star-studded class in college football ahead of the 2024 NFL Draft. People have been asking for it. Here it is, the debut top 10 mock draft for this program here. PHNX Cardinals, Bo and I put our heads together, and this is what we came up with. Now, you see at the top of this list, got a couple teams that own 2 firsts in the top 10. What I will say, Bo Brock, is we break it down for our audio-only listeners. Caleb Williams going first overall to the Chicago Bears with Carolina's pick. They are the only 0-5 team in the NFL. The Bears have the second pick. They take Marvin Harrison Jr. However, I do believe if they face a scenario in which a team right below them would like a quarterback, I think they have an opportunity, or the Cardinals, should they find themselves in this position, Bo, to move down one pick. You don't want to move down more than one. To move down one pick to secure Marvin Harrison Jr. at pick 3 and Drake May at pick 2. Dane Brugler, who is an NFL draft savant, said that he is convinced the draft order will be 1-2 Caleb and Drake May, which means Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going to go at pick 3.
Man, let's hope so, right? I mean, with all the Cardinals, what they're doing this season, and they're ruining their draft picks by winning a football game, and the Texans, they're really not doing what the part we expected them to do. Is the Cardinals that 9th overall pick? That's the Texans pick. But yeah, you love to see yourself stay within striking distance of Marvin Harrison Jr. because we talk about and people throw generational around far too often, but Marvin Harrison, all the success that Ohio State has had in producing top tier wide receivers and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, you got a guy in Marvin Harrison Jr. that they've deemed as can't miss generational type talent. You saw what his dad was able to do with Peyton Manning so many years in Indianapolis, and that he's even a bigger prospect than his dad because he's got the size, physicality that you want. I mean, he is, to me, especially when you have a guy like Kyler Murray on your roster still, he's the gem of this draft. Like, I would much rather evaluate him and have the eyes set towards the future with Marvin Harrison than even so with a Caleb Williams or one of the quarterbacks.
He's the best overall player. And if the Cardinals end up with the second or the third pick, they're going to take, I believe, Marvin Harrison Jr. If they end up with the first pick, we've talked about it, Caleb Williams. But again, the Arizona Cardinals, if we can see that one more time, Damon, for our audio-only listeners, the Cardinals currently pick 6th and 9th right now in the 2024 NFL Draft. The 9th pick, of course, coming from Houston, who did lose yesterday to Atlanta. But we have the Arizona Cardinals at pick 6 taking Joe Alt from the University of Notre Dame, who I think is the best pure tackle in the NFL. So you'd be pairing Joe Alt, a blue chipper, with Paris Johnson Jr., a blue chipper. You'd be set at both tackle spots conceivably for the next half decade plus, hopefully the next decade. And then number 9, they get the best pure defensive tackle who dominated in a loss to Nebraska last week. Our boy Newton out of University of Illinois, out of Champaign, disruptive. This defensive tackle class, I think, has a lot of depth, but he is clearly the crown jewel right now. Not a Jalen Carter type of prospect, but just in that tier below. I think the Cardinals, again, are going to consider a bunch of defenders. Verse out of Florida State, if he were to drop, Kool-Aid out of Alabama is obviously a name to watch, the cornerback. But it feels like, should the Cardinals go tackle with their first pick, feels like you're almost has it a mandate that you got to go defender with that second top 10 pick.
I mean, I love him going trenches here on both sides of the football. I do. Yeah. Like, I can daydream about that for sure. Like, just as much as you can with a big playmaking wide receiver or a big playmaking quarterback. Like, we're just seeing what Jonathan Gannon and his coaching staff have done with spare parts. If you get 2 blue chippers in there in the trenches and you add Joe Alt, either to the right tackle spot and swap, Paris Johnson Jr. to left tackle or vice versa, and then you put a guy like Jer'Zhan Newton from Illinois right there in the middle of that defense and put him in the rotation, and you've got him with Dante Stills, and you can continue to supplement that maybe through free agency. Then you're starting to really make up and put some talent on that defense. But I have absolutely zero problem. Maybe it's because I'm a product of the previous regime, watching them waste picks and picks and picks. And for them to do this and kind of continue to eat their vegetables with 2 of their top picks, I'm all for it.
Just feels like this regime isn't messing around.
No.
Philadelphia wins games with line of scrimmage play. Tennessee is winning games despite a talent level with line of scrimmage play. And for me, it's just like lean into this draft. What do we know about this draft? Great quarterback draft, a superstar generational wide receiver, and then a ton of line of scrimmage depth. And so if the Cardinals are in a position where they don't have a premium pick inside the top 3, lean into the draft, right? Don't force a pick a la Steve Keim on a need or try to fit a tweener player into a position they don't fit into. Like, we know Joe Alt plays left tackle, franchise left tackle opposite Paris Johnson Jr. If Verse is available, edge rusher immediately comes in and helps produce pressure off the edge the Cardinals aren't getting at the moment. So Newton, enough said. Cardinals are in no position to pass on a generational defensive tackle. So it's an exciting time. If you want to look ahead now, wins by both Houston and Arizona this weekend will change this. But we want to stay current. And the current draft order right now has the Arizona Cardinals bow with 2 top 10 picks.
I love it. Joe Alt, 20 years old. He's young. He's 20 years old. He's 6'8", just a massive human being. And if you couple him with another massive human being, you book in your offensive line. Doesn't matter that you're paying your quarterback close to $50 million a year. You've got 2 controllable premium positions taken care of in left tackle and right tackle. And then you start to work on the trenches on the other side of the football, and Jonathan Gannon starts to get really impressive play from that defensive front rotation. I mean, it's Monty Ossenfort and him. They are working in concert, and it's sweet, sweet music.
Can we see that order one more time, Damon? I want to just point this out. I know Damon's getting sick of pulling this up. I want everybody.
It's producer Leah, by the way. Damon has gone on, and I can only allow you to call producer Leah Merrill, producer Damon so many times.
Leah is the OG producer of the show.
I literally am. Yeah, Damon had to run to produce the D-backs pregame show, so I took over.
Leah's moved on to bigger and better things. She hosts a big-time podcast called PHNX Coyotes that does a fantastic job, but I'm going to make her put this graphic up one more time. I want everybody to look at not necessarily the names of the players, look at the teams in this top 10 right now. If the Cardinals opt to continue on the path with Kyler Murray, Raiders need a quarterback, Giants need a quarterback, Patriots need a quarterback, Vikings probably need a quarterback, Denver needs a quarterback, Chicago needs a quarterback. Probably. I mean, the Cardinals, if they say Kyler Murray's our guy in the January press conference, there's going to be immense talent pushed down to this franchise yet again. They will be the benefactor of that. Don't think Ossenfort isn't thinking that way. We would love a Bo Nix being overdrafted, Michael Penix being overdrafted, Shadur Sanders opting to come out. That's good, Leah. I mean, to me, they're in a position right now to say all you can eat prospect buffet, push players down for this franchise to go nuts on, because all those other teams coincidentally do not have good quarterback play.
Oh man, I like to have to put kind of our prospect talk on hold for that time where we were encouraged by the Cardinals, like how they competed week in and week out, and
they could still happen again.
I know it could, but this is too damn fun. I mean, to have 2 premium picks in this draft class just gets you excited, gets you giddy when you look at all those players. And you're right. I mean, there are going to be so many quarterback hungry teams. And I think people are now realizing like the fool's gold out there on free agency and trading premium picks to get quarterbacks off one roster onto your roster. Like, it hasn't necessarily worked out for those teams. I mean, we could see kind of a hold on that, and with this class, teams jockey up the draft board in order to try to get their future quarterbacks.
Get to some of these super chats. Haven't forgot about you guys. You guys have been patient. Alex in the chat, $1.99, praying for the day we stop saying what if. I mean, I'm praying for the day for those what if victories to come too, and to start saying we're gonna start winning games at home and on the road again. But I also think you got to add some talent, man. And that's what this draft talk is all about. This is a generational draft class.
Yeah, you got 2 picks in the first round. You've got 1 in the second round, and then you've got 3 in the third round potentially, don't you? So you've got 6 in the top 3 rounds. And what have we seen so far? Of course, you want to see more from BJ Ojulari, but Paris Johnson Jr., dog, he hasn't seemed overmatched really at any point during his rookie season at 6th overall. And then you've got.
Can we call it a hit? Are we allowed to do that? For 5 games?
Let's do it. It's at least in the alleyway for extra bases for a double or triple. And then you've got yourself, as far as we'll see what Garrett Williams brings to the table once he gets on the field. But Michael Wilson, parlaying this into the question from the new regime, any clarification on Michael Wilson and why he wasn't involved in the passing game and how many more drops from Ertz before he's traded? Look, let me finish my thought as far as, Monty Ossenfort has shown the ability to find talent as deep as the third round, finding starters there, but also as Johnny said, you can't turn off day 3 of the NFL draft any longer with Monty Ossenfort. But to load him up with 6 picks in the first 3 rounds, I mean, there's going to be an infusion of talent this offseason that we didn't get to see this past offseason outside of the draft. So it's exciting. But as far as the lack of Michael Wilson, I don't know. I think it just comes down to game flow as far as what Joshua Dobbs was seeing or wasn't seeing. There wasn't a lot of opportunity. I know that they were using him as a blocker in the run game. He was out there 75% of the snaps, but didn't see his first target until the fourth quarter. And, I don't know if, and it's not Drew Petzing's fault that Michael Wilson wasn't utilized yesterday. I think it's more of a Dobbs issue and maybe a credit to the Bengals and how they defended him after a big week against the Niners.
Illa Dre, $4.99. With the way Ossenfort draft, I feel good about next draft. How can you not? I mean, we talked about it this past spring. You just light those picks on fire if you're Steve Keim. That's essentially what they would do. Is we would talk up prospects that we liked, and subsequently, very few times would Keim select the players that I think majority of the fan base wanted. Fan base wanted CeeDee Lamb and Creed Humphreys. And I'm not saying that the fan base is always right, but man, you had a tough time selling some of these picks over what it seemed. I mean, the antithesis of it, or the culmination of it, was really, Andy Isabella over DK Metcalf. I mean, most fans were like, what are we doing? And it just, I mean, at the end of the day, it's bit them in the ass, and Ossenfort has been able to clean it up in one off season, and this roster is going to look very different. So even on Sundays where it's tough to watch this team with the lack of depth and star power, know that it's only temporary.